Hello students, coming to the next part of the third chapter, that is pteridophytes. Last class we studied about bryophytes. So next one in the form of evolution is pteridophytes. Pteridophytes includes horsetails and ferns. This is the picture of Selaginella horsetails, and this is the picture of ferns. Okay, it includes horsetails and ferns. They are used for medicinal purposes and has soil binders. The pteridophytes, the uses of pteridophyte is they are used for medicinal purposes. They are used as some of the drugs or medicines like antioxidant, anti-diabetic medicines, anti-cancer, antimicrobial medicines. Okay, they are used as medicines or drugs for some of the diseases, as well as they are used as soil binders. They bind the soil tightly to prevent from soil erosion. They bind the soil to prevent the soil from soil erosion, that is called as soil binders, or they are used as ornamental plants. Ornamental plant means these pteridophytes are used for decoration purposes. Pteridophytes are mainly used for decoration purposes. You might have used this during flower decoration and all. You will use these particular leaves. So they are used for decorational purposes. So they are called as ornamental plant. One of the most important feature of pteridophyte is these plants are terrestrial plants. That means the plants live on land, terrestrial plant, which possess vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. We have studied about algae as well as we have studied about bryophytes. These both plants doesn't possess vascular tissue, whereas the pteridophytes contain vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. You might have heard about xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem are the vascular tissues of a plant body. Xylem is called as an water conducting tissue and phloem is called as an food conducting tissue, complex tissues, and that is found first in pteridophytes. Pteridophytes are found in cool, shady places. They are grown in cool places or in sandy soil condition where both soil and sand are mixed. In that particular condition, you can see the pteridophytes. In pteridophytes, the main plant body is a sporophyte. I have said in bryophyte, there is alternation of generation. The body can be sporophyte, then turn into gametophyte, or gametophyte that can turn into sporophyte. In bryophyte, we studied the plant body was gametophyte, which later got converted into sporophyte, whereas in pteridophytes it is vice versa. In pteridophytes, the main plant body is a sporophyte. Okay, in pteridophytes, the main plant body is a sporophyte, which will be having a root, stem and leaves. In pteridophytes, the main plant body is a sporophyte, which will be having root, stem and leaves like a normal plant. Then the leaves in pteridophytes are small or large. In some plants of pteridophytes, the leaves might be very small. If the pteridophytes have small leaves, that leaves are called as microphyls. And if the pteridophytes have larger leaves, such leaves are called as macrophyls. Some pteridophytes will be having small leaves called as microphyls, and some pteridophytes will be having longer leaves, that is called as macrophyll. See, example of microphyll is Selaginella. This is the picture of Selaginella. You can see the structure of leaves. They are very small. So they are called as microphylls. Example of macrophylls are ferns. See the leaves here, they are longer leaves. You might have seen these leaves using flower decoration. These leaves are longer. So large leaves are called as macrophylls. Keep it in mind. The leaves in pteridophytes, if the leaves are small, they are called as microphylls. And if the leaves are large, they are called as macrophylls. Then the sporophytes, I said the plant body is a sporophyte. The plant body of pteridophytes is sporophyte. These sporophyte, along with the root, stem and leaves, they bear sporangia. Okay, the sporophytes bear sporangia that have leaf-like appendages called sporophylls. They look like leaf-like appendages, leaf-like structures called as sporophylls. Okay. In some cases, these sporophylls, what are sporophylls? Leaf-like appendages that are present inside the sporangia in the sporophyte plant body. So, in some cases, these sporophylls may form one distinct compact structure called as strobili, or also called as cones. Okay, sporophyte contains sporangia. Sporangia will be having sporophylls. These sporophylls have a compact structure called as strobili or cones. Strobili or cones. Now, this sporangia produce spores. Sorry, there is a spelling mistake. It is not pores, it's spores. S-P-O-R-E-S. Bichakagalu. The sporangia produce spores by meiosis in spore mother cell. I said the plant body is sporophyte. Later it will get converted into gametophyte. See how the process takes place. The sporophytic plant body bears sporangia that will bear sporophylls. Now this sporangia produce spores by meiosis. They undergo a division called as meiosis to produce spores in spore mother cell. There is a single mother cell called as spore mother cell. So these sporangia produce spores in the spore mother cell by a division called as meiosis. What happens to that spore? That spore germinate and give rise to small multicellular free-living photosynthetic thalloid gametophyte called as prothallus. Spores are produced in the spore mother cell. They later germinate. Germinate andre molake hodiyudu. They germinate and give rise to a gametophytic body that is called as prothallus. The spore germinate and give rise to small multicellular free-living photosynthetic thalloid gametophyte. Thalloid gametophytic plant body, and that is called as prothallus. Understood? Pteridophyte is a sporophytic plant body, has like bryophyte. Bryophyte is a gametophytic plant body, later get converted into sporophyte. Similar way, pteridophyte is a sporophytic plant body, later getting converted into gametophyte. That is alternation of generation. So how it will get converted into gametophyte? The sporangia produce spores by meiosis in spore mother cell. These spores germinate and give rise to a thalloid gametophyte called as prothallus. Now what does this gametophyte contain? The gametophyte contain male and female sex organ. You have already studied. Male sex organ is called as antheridium and female sex organ is called as archegonium. Antheridium, archegonia. The gametophyte, since gametophyte contain gametes, gametes means there should be 6 organs. So gametophyte bear both male and female sex organ. Male sex organ is called as antheridia and female sex organ is called as archegonia. Now what is the next process? You got the gametes, they undergo sexual reproduction. Now for reproduction, pteridophytes also require water. Water is required for the transfer of antherozoid. Water is required for the transfer of the male gamete, antherozoid. So the male gametes are released from antheridia to the mouth of archegonium. The male gametes are released in water and reach the female gamete, that is archegonia. What happens when male gamete come in contact with the female gamete? Fusion take place. Both join together. Fusion of these gametes form the zygote. Fusion of male and female gamete, antheridia and archegonium, leads to the formation of zygote. Now what happens to the zygote? Zygote produces multicellular, well differentiated sporophyte. Zygote produces a sporophyte. So what happens? Plant body is sporophyte. Later it get converted into gametophyte to undergo reproduction. Once reproduction take place, that is both male and female sex organ come in contact with each other, fusion of gametes take place, it will lead to form zygote. What will zygote will undergo? Zygote will produce a multicellular sporophytic plant body, that is sporophytic pteridophytes. Okay, now understood how a sporophytic plant body is produced. Okay, the parent plant body is a sporophytic plant body. It will be having sporangia. Sporangia will produce spores. That spores will germinate and give rise to gametophyte. Male and female gametes are formed. They come in contact with each other and form a zygote. Again, zygote further produces sporophytic pteridophyte. Okay. Then, in pteridophytes, if the spores are of similar kinds, if the spores produced are of same kind, such plants are called as homosporous. Similar, homo. In pteridophytes, if the spores produced are of same kind, such spores are called as homosporous. Okay. In pteridophytes, if the spores produced are of different type, maybe some are large spores, macro. Large means macro, small means micro, like microphyll and macrophyll. If some are large spores and if some are small spores, such type of spores are called as heterosporous. Understood? In pteridophytes, if the spores produced are of same kind, they are called as homospores. Or if the spores are of two different kinds, some are large macrospores, some are microspores, such are called as heterospores. Keep it in mind. Same means homo, different means hetero. So if same spores, homospores, different kind of spores, that is macro and micro, they are called as heterospores. So these spores, megaspores and microspores, germinate and give rise to male and female gametophyte. Already said, the sporangia produce spores by meiosis in spore mother cell. Now the spores can be either homosporous or heterosporous. Finally, they germinate and give rise to male and female gametophyte in the sporophytic plant body. Now, the female gametophyte in these plants are retained on the parent sporophyte for variable periods. Now, the plant body is sporophyte. The female gametophyte will be present in the plant body for several periods. The development of zygotes into young embryo takes place within the female gametophyte. So, this event is a precursor to the seed habitat, which is important step in evolution. Where the zygote develops, I said, antheridium, that is the male gamete, will travel in water currents and reach to the female gamete, archegonium. Fusion of male and female gamete leads to the development of zygote. Where zygote is produced? Zygote is produced in the female plant body, that is female gametophyte. Okay, the development of zygote into young embryo take place within the female gametophyte, and this event, development of zygote into embryo, this event is the first step to the seed habitat. Till now, you didn't get a seed in plant body. Nowadays, you know, angiosperms. How we will plant a plant? We will take the seed of the plant and allow the seed to germinate in the soil, right? If you, for example, if you want to plant a mango tree, a mango plant, what you will do? You will take the seed of the mango and put into the soil and allow them to germinate. Similar way, if you want to plant a jackfruit plant, you will take the seed of jackfruit and put it into the soil. In such ways, we will get the trees, right? But before evolution, before some years ago, we didn't have seed. When the earth came into existence, the first plant grown in the earth was algae. Later, algae developed into bryophytes. What do bryophytes did? Bryophytes broken down the rocks into soils. After bryophytes, next step in evolution is pteridophytes. Now, this pteridophytes put a step for the seed habitat. It helped the first step in producing seed. So this was the important step in evolution. I hope you understood. Once again, I'll summarize it. Example of pteridophytes is horsetails and ferns. They are used for medicinal purposes and soil binders as well as decorational purposes. So they are called as ornamental plant. They contain vascular tissue, that is xylem and phloem. Now, coming to the plant body, pteridophytes, the main plant body of pteridophyte is sporophyte. They will be having macrophyls and microphyls. Then, the sporophyte bear sporangia that contain sporophylls. Sporophylls have structures called as strobili or cones. These sporangia produce spores by meiosis. Now the spores can be heterosporous or homosporous. These spores germinate and give rise to a gametophytic plant body. These gametophyte contain male and female sex organ. They come in contact with each other in water and form zygote. Later zygote again produce to a sporophytic pteridophyte. Okay. So these female the development of zygote into embryo will be present inside the female gametophyte, which is the first step in the formation of the seed. So it is the first step in seed evolution. First step in evolution. It is the precursor to the seed habitat. Pteridophytes are the precursor for the seed habitat. So it is the important step in evolution. Now, these pteridophytes are divided into 4 classes. Here you don't have to study the characteristic feature, only the name of 4 classes and their example. So, pteridophytes are classified into 4 classes. Coelopsida, example is Coleotum. Lycopsida, example is Selaginella or Lycopodium. Spinopsida, example is Equisatum, and Pteropsida, example is Dryopterus, Theris and Adiantum. See, these are the 4 classes of pteridophytes: Coelopsida, Lycopsida, Spinopsida and Pteropsida, and their examples. This is about pteridophytes. After pteridophytes, the next plant body came into existence is gymnosperms. Okay, the next plant body came into existence is gymnosperms. You might have seen gymnosperms. You might have planted the plant in your garden. See, one example of gymnosperm is cycas. You can find this plant in your gardens. Cycas plant. You might have seen this. Cycas plants. Another example of gymnosperm is pinus. Pine tree. Pinus. Cycas pinus. So, meaning of gymnosperms. Gymnosperms are divided into two terms. In Greek, gymnosperms are divided into 2 terms, gymnos and sperma. The meaning of gymnosperms. They are divided into 2 terms, gymnos and sperma. Gymnos means naked, sperma means seeds. So altogether, gymnosperms means naked seeds. I'll say why. Naked seed means these are plants in which ovules are not covered by an ovary and they remain exposed before and after fertilization. So they are called as naked seed. This is a seed giving plant. Now, what do you mean by ovules? Ovules means which will develop into seed. Ovules are always covered by ovary in angiosperms. One more thing. If you have seen mango, okay, the raw mango, what you will do? You will have the flesh of mango and then throw the seed. The flesh of mango is called as ovary. ನೀವೆಂಥದನ್ನು ತಿಂತೀರಿ, that is called as ovary. ಯಾವುದನ್ನು ಬಿಸಾಡ್ತೀರಿ, ಬೀಜ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಿ, that is called as ovule. Understood? So, always in angiosperm, that is the next one, ovules will be always protected by ovary. It will be covered by ovary. But in this case, in gymnosperms, these ovules are open. They are not covered by an ovary. That means you can imagine this gymnosperm doesn't give you fruit. Okay, there is seed, but seed is not produced inside the fruit body. When we will get seed, when we have some fruits, then only we will get the seed. But here, in case of gymnosperms, seed is present, but there is no fruit. That means ovary is absent, but ovules are present. Since there is no covering of fruit, the ovules are naked. Understood? So they are called as naked seed. Since the ovules, the seeds are not covered by ovary, these ovules are naked. So they are called as gymnosperms or naked seeds. Okay? These are plants in which ovules are not enclosed by ovary and they remain open before and after fertilization. They remain open throughout before and after fertilization. The ovules are naked before and after fertilization. So they are called as gymnosperms. Okay. These gymnosperms include tall trees, medium-sized trees as well as small trees. Example of tall tree is giant redwood tree, sequoia. If you have seen redwood tree, it is very giant, big one, redwood tree. Okay. Other example are pinus. They are medium-sized trees. And shrubs, a small one is cycas. I showed you the diagram. This is pinus. This is one more tree. And this is a shrub, cycas, small trees, small plants, shrubs. Okay. So, these gymnosperm can include long trees, medium-sized trees as well as shrub. Now, trees, the root system is always taproot system. You might have studied there are two type of root system, taproot system and fibrous root system. In trees, that is in redwood tree or in pinus, the root system is taproot. They contain taproot system. Now, which plant will be having taproot system? Their roots will be having a fungal association in the form of mycorrhiza. See, this is somewhat interesting. You have studied in lichens, phycobiont, fungal component phycobiont and algal component mycobiont. In lichens, if you have heard, I have explained about symbiotic association. That is mutual understanding between each other. Okay, same thing comes here. Now, mycorrhiza is a fungus which is present only in tall trees. These mycorrhiza are not found in small plants. Keep it in mind. Mycorrhiza is a fungus which is found in the roots of the tall trees. Now, what is the association here? What is the symbiotic association? I said tall trees contain taproots. Okay. These mycorrhiza take shelter inside the taproot of the tall trees. Mycorrhiza is a small fungus which takes shelter inside the taproot of the tall trees. So the taproot of the tall trees give shelter to mycorrhiza. So I said they share a symbiotic association. What in turn mycorrhiza will give? What mycorrhiza do is they penetrate the roots of the trees. Andre trees idu roots annu sanna sanna hole ಮಾಡಿ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಮಿನರಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಿನರಲ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ನೀರನ್ನು ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಲೌ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೊಡ್ತದೆ. That is a symbiotic association of mycorrhiza along with the trees. Mycorrhiza is a fungus which takes shelter inside the root of the tall trees. ಅದು ಅದರೊಳಗೆ ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಪಡೆಯುತ್ತದೆ. In turn, mycorrhiza will penetrate the roots of the trees which allow the tree for absorption of minerals and water from the soil. mycorrhizaನಿಗೆ ಫುಡ್ ಮತ್ತು ಶೆಲ್ಟರ್ ಟ್ರೀಯಿಂದ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ. ಮೈಕೋರೈಸಾ ಎಂತ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ, ಆ ರೂಟನ್ನು ಸಣ್ಣ ಪೋರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ರೂಟಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರು ಮತ್ತು ಮಿನರಲ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಅದನ್ನು ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಬೋತ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಈಚ್ ಅದರ್. ದೇ ಶೇರ್ ಅ mutual relationship. They share a symbiotic association. Mycorrhiza take shelter and food inside the roots of the tree, as well as it will penetrate the roots. How it will help the plant? It will penetrate the root of the tree and help the plant to absorb minerals and water from the soil. Both are benefited. Mycorrhiza will get food and shelter. Plant will get water and minerals from the soil. Okay, same way. That is, for example, finest tree. These are trees which will be having taproot system. Inside their roots they will be having mycorrhiza which will take shelter inside the taproot system and penetrate the roots so the plant will get water and mineral. But in shrubs, that is in cycas, here This cycle doesn't contain taproot system. It contains coralloid, coralloid root system. See here, cycles contain coralloid root system, not taproot system, coralloid root system. So this system, root system, contains cyanobacteria. Remember blue-green algae? It helps in fixing atmospheric nitrogen in the soil. Okay, cycles doesn't contain taproot system. It contains a root system called as coralloid root system. Instead of mycorrhiza, in the coralloid root system, there are cyanobacteria. The function of cyanobacteria, it will fix atmospheric nitrogen to the soil. Nitrogen is an important macronutrient for the plant. So cyanobacteria will give nitrogen to the plant body. In turn, the cyanobacteria will get shelter inside the plant body. Coming to the characteristic feature, the leaves of gymnosperms are adapted to withstand extreme temperature, humidity and wind. They can withstand any temperature. ಎಷ್ಟು ಬಿಸಿಲಿದ್ರೂ, ಎಷ್ಟು humid condition ಇದ್ರೂ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಗಾಳಿ ಇದ್ರೂ, they are strong. They will not fall off. They can withstand. They are adapted. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬದುಕಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬಿಸಿಲಿದ್ರೂ, ಗಾಳಿ ಇದ್ರೂ, humid ಇದ್ರೂ, it can withstand temperature, humidity and wind. So it is very strong, the leaves of gymnosperms. Okay. Gymnosperms are heterosporous. What are heterosporous? That means they produce two different type of spores, microspores and macrospores. So gymnosperms are heterosporous, producing haploid microspores and megaspores, small and large spores. These two kinds of spores are produced within the sporangia that are borne on sporophyll, that which is present in the sporophyll contain compact structure called as strobili and cones. Same thing what you have studied in pteridophytes. The two kinds of spores are produced within the sporangia. Sporangia contain sporophylls. Sporophyll contain compact structure called as strobili or cones. Different is the strobili bearing microsporophyll and microsporangia are called as microsporangiate or male strobili. So you can understand gymnosperm is a sporophytic plant body. It will contain sporangia. Sporangia will contain sporophyll. Sporophyll will form a structure called as strobili or cones. Now these spores are produced in the spore mother cell to give you what? Gametophyte, male and female gametophyte. So how male and female gametophyte is produced? The strobili bearing microsporophyll. The strobili will contain, what is strobili? Sporophyll will be having a compact structure called as strobili. This strobili will contain microsporophyll. What is microspores? Small leaves, microsporophyll. That microsporophyll, micro means small, sporophyll you know, sporangia will produce sporophyll. Microsporophyll and form a microsporangia. These microsporangia are called as microsporangiate or male strobili. These microspores develop into male gametophyte, which is called as the pollen grain. This complete structure you will be studying in the second year. Okay, for the time being this is enough. That is microsporangia contain male strobili, microsporophyll contain microsporangia. Microsporangia will develop into male gamete. The male gamete is called as pollen grain. ಇಷ್ಟು ನಿಮಗೆ ಈ ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಕು. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಇಯರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ ನೀವು ಕಲಿತೀರಿ. ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಮಚ್. Gymnosperms will be having a sporophytic plant body. They produce heterospores, that is microspores and megaspores. So spores are produced within the sporangia. Sporangia contains sporophyll. Sporophyll will be having strawberry or cones. Now the male strawberry, okay, the male spores will bear microsporophyll. Microsporophyll will form a microsporangiate, a bulb-like structure, microsporangiate, and inside this microsporangiate, the male gamete is formed, male strawberry is formed. The name of the male gamete is called as pollen grain. I hope you understood. The spores are produced in the microsporophyll. Microsporophyll will form a structure called as microsporangiate. These microsporangiate will release the male gamete called as pollen grain. So pollen grain is the male gamete in the plant body. Now once male gamete is formed, the next step is you require a female gamete. Okay. Now these cones, I said they contain, sporophyll will contain compact structure called as strawberry and cones. Strawberry will help in the development of the male gametophyte, that is pollen grain. The cones, what do cones do? Cones help in the development of female gametophyte. Now the cones bearing megasporophyll. The strawberry will contain microsporophyll, that is small sporophyll. The cones will contain megasporophyll, large sporophyll, which will develop into a female strawberry called as ovules. Ovule is the female gamete. Now, how ovule is produced? I hope you understood. Sporophyte will develop into sporangia. Sporangia will develop into sporophyll. Sporophyll will develop into strawberry and cones. The strawberry will contain microsporophyll. Microsporophyll will develop into microsporangia, which will release a male gamete called as pollen grain. For sexual reproduction, we require male and female gamete. So male gamete is released by microsporangia, that is called as pollen grain. Next, the cones contain megasporophyll. Megasporophyll will develop into a female gametophyte that inside the megasporangia, that is called as ovules. Now how ovule is produced? The cones bears megasporophyll. Megasporophyll will contain megasporangia. The megasporangia will be having megaspore mother cell, MMC. How female gamete is produced? Listen. The cone contain megasporophyll, large sporophyll. The megasporophyll will contain megasporangia. The megasporangia is present inside the megaspore mother cell. The megaspore mother cell is differentiated from one cell of the nucellus, not nucleus. They will be having a reserve food material called as nucellus. The nucellus is protected by envelope and composite structure called as ovules. So ovules are born on megasporophyll. What happens is the megaspore mother cell divides meiotically to form megaspores. In that megaspores, one megaspore is functional, rest three are degenerated. That will develop into a multicellular female gametophyte which will contain two or more archegonia female sex organs. It's like a story. Our main thing is we want to undergo sexual reproduction to produce a next gymnosperm. So for that we require a male gamete and female gamete. Are you understanding? We require a male gamete and female gamete to produce a next seed. So the gymnosperm is a sporophytic plant body. It will lead to gametophytic plant body by producing gametes. So how gametes are produced? You know, sporophylls. Sporophytic plant body will contain sporangia. Sporangia will contain sporophyll. Sporophyll will contain strawberry or cone. The first thing is we want to produce a male gamete. Male gamete is very easy. What happens? The strawberry which contain microsporophyll will produce microsporangia, and that microsporangia will lead to the formation of the male gamete, that is pollen grain. Simple thing. In formation of female gamete is little bit complicated. What happens is the cones bear megasporophyll. These megasporophyll will contain megasporangia. Megasporangia is produced by the megaspore mother cell, MMC. What happens? Megaspore mother cell is present inside, differentiated into the nucellus. Nucellus is a reserve food material. This nucellus is protected by ovule. Now ovules are born on megasporophyll. Ovules are seeds. They are born on megasporophyll clustered to form female cones. What happens is the megaspore mother cell divides meiotically to form 4 megaspores. The MMC will divide meiotically to form 4 megaspores. Out of the 4 megaspores, 1 megaspore is functioning. Rest 3 megaspore is waste. That 1 megaspore will develop into female gametophyte or female sex organ. Understood? Female sex organ, archegonia or ovule. Understood? The cones bear megasporophyll. The megasporophyll contain megasporangium. So, all this is present inside the megaspore mother cell, MMC. Megaspore mother cell is covered by reserve food material called as nucellus. This nucellus is protected by ovule. So, ovules are born on megasporophyll. How it is produced? How this female gametophyte ovules are produced? The MMC, megaspore mother cell, divide meiotically to form 4 megaspores. Out of that 4 megaspore, 1 is functioning, rest all are waste. That one will develop into 2 or more female sex organ. What will happen? Reproduction. How it will take place? In gymnosperms, the male and female gametophyte do not have an independent existence. They remain within the sporangia for a long time inside the sporophyte. Now, pollen grain released from microsporangia come in contact with the ovule borne on megasporangia. Are you understanding what I am trying to say? See, male gamete is called as pollen grain. Female gamete is called as archegonia or ovule. So, male gamete, how it is produced? The strawberry bearing microsporophyll will produce microsporangia. Microsporangia will develop into pollen grain. Male gamete is produced. How female gamete is produced? The cones bearing megasporophylls are present in the megasporangia. Where megasporangia is present? Megasporangia is present in the megaspore mother cell. Megaspore mother cell divide meiotically to form megaspores. What does megaspore contain? They contain nucellus, which is a reserve food material which help in the development of the seed. The name of the seed is ovules. So ovules are born on megasporophyll. The megaspore mother cell divide meiotically to form 4 megaspores. Out of that 4 megaspore, 1 megaspore is functioning, rest all are waste. Out of 4 only 1 is functioning, 3 are waste. That 1 megaspore will develop into the female gametophyte ovule or archegonia, 1 or more ovule. Now once male and female gametophyte is produced, it will undergo reproduction. How reproduction? See, in gymnosperms, the male and female gamete are not independent. They are not released in water and move independently. What they happen? Till they undergo reproduction, they remain within the bulb-like structure called as sporangia. Once they become mature, once the male and female gamete become mature, what will happen is the female gamete will be present inside the sporangia. The male gamete, that is the pollen grain, will be traveling along with the wind. The pollen grain, once it will become mature. Remember, both male and female gamete are not independent. They will be present inside the sporangia of the plant body. Once the pollen grain become mature, the pollen grain are released in the wind. They travel in the air. They travel in the air and go and deposit upon the ovule present on the megasporophyll. Pollen grain will be present inside the sporangia of microsporophyll. Ovule will be present inside the megasporophyll. Okay. Once the pollen grain becomes mature, they are traveled in the wind. They are carried by the wind. Go and deposit upon the ovule, female gamete, which is present on the megasporophyll. Once the pollen grain go and deposit upon the ovule of the megasporophyll, what will happen? Pollen grain will germinate and produce tube-like structure called as pollen tube. Are you understanding the process of reproduction? See, in gymnosperms, male gamete and female gamete do not live independently. Male gamete is formed, female gamete is formed. Male gamete is pollen grain, female gamete is ovule. Keep it in mind. Now they don't live independently. They remain inside the sporangia. The pollen grain will remain inside the microsporangium and female gamete ovule will be remained inside the megasporangium. Once the male gamete become mature, they are released in the wind. From the microsporangium, they are released in the wind. They are carried in the wind and deposited upon the ovule which is present on the megasporangium. Now one more thing. Sometimes both the sexes are present in the same. In the pinus, male gamete and female gamete, that is microsporangia and megasporangium, are present in the same plant. Whereas in cycas, they are present on different plant. Okay, there will be one male plant and one female plant. That time what will happen? Pollen grain will be traveled. Once they become mature, they are released from the microsporangia. They are carried in the air and get deposited upon the ovule present inside the megasporangia. Now once the ovule receive the pollen grain, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ? ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮೊಳಕೆ ಹೊಡೆಯುತ್ತದೆ. Pollen grain will germinate. Once the pollen grain will germinate, they will form tube-like structure. ಒಂದೆರಡು pipe produce ಆಗ್ತದೆ. Tube-like structure. That is called as pollen tube. These pollen tube carry the male gamete. Pollen grain is the male sex organ. They go and deposit upon the archegonia, female sex organ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ germinate ಆಗ್ತದೆ. They'll form the pollen tube. This pollen tube will carry the male gamete and reach the ovule. What will happen? Male gamete will fuse with the female gamete. Zygote is developed. Zygote develops into embryo. Embryo develops into seed. And these seeds are not covered. Understood? ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? Male gamete is produced by microsporangia. Female gamete is produced by megasporangia. Megasporangia will be having megaspore mother cell which will divide out of and produce 4 megaspores. 4 megaspores. Out of 4 megaspore, 1 megaspore is function which will develop into female gametophyte. Female gametophyte after fertilization develop into seed, ovule. That ovule is protected by nucellus. Are you understanding? So, the pollen grain, male gamete will be present inside the microsporangia. Female gamete will be present inside the megasporangia. Once the pollen grain become mature, they are released in the air current. They are released in the air current. They come and germinate on the female gamete, female sex organ archegonia. There they will form the pollen tube. Pollen tube will reach the archegony in the ovules. They fuse together. Fertilization take place. Develop into zygote. Zygote will develop into embryo. Again, embryo will develop into seed. And these seeds are not covered. They are naked. They are not covered by fruits. Our main aim is to produce the seed. So male gamete is produced by microsporangia, that is pollen grain. Female gamete is produced by megasporangia, that is megaspore mother cell will divide into meiotically to form 4 megaspore. Then out of that 4 megaspore, one is functional, where ovule is protected by nucellus. Keep it in mind. Till the ovule becomes seed, it is protected by nucellus. Nucellus is the reserve food material for the development of the seed. Ovule will develop into seed. ಅದು ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋ ವಿಲ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಇಂಟು ಸೀಡ್. ಅದು ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಷನ್ ಬೇಕು. ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಪ್ಲೈಡ್ ಬೈ ದ ನ್ಯೂಸೆಲಸ್. Nucellus is protected by envelope and composite structure called as ovules. So ovules are born on megasporophyll. How they are born? That is microspore mother cell divide meiotically to form megaspore. Out of that, one megaspore is functional. That will help in the development of female gametes. So ovules are born on megasporophyll. Once they become mature, pollen grain will be deposited upon the female gamete. There they will germinate and form tube-like structure called as pollen tube. Pollen tube will discharge gametes inside the female body. Male and female gamete come in contact with each other, undergo a process called as fertilization. When male gamete come in contact with female gamete and produce a zygote, that process is called as fertilization. The fusion of male gamete with the female gamete to form a zygote, that process is called as fertilization. So when male gamete and female gamete come in contact with each other, it will develop into zygote. This zygote later develop into embryo. That embryo will develop into ovules, which is called as ovules, and that ovules will develop into seeds. And these seeds are not covered. Understood? When male gamete and female gamete come in contact with each other, fertilization take place. They develop into zygote. Zygote develop into embryo. Embryo develop into ovules, and ovules develop into seed. Zygote develops into embryo and ovules into seeds. I hope you understood. Pollen grain is the male gamete. Ovule is the female gamete. Pollen grain comes in contact with the female gamete. They undergo fertilization, form a zygote. Zygote develops into embryo and ovules into seed. This is the process of reproduction. Seeds are not covered, so they are called as naked seeds, and naked seeds are called as gymnosperms. I hope you understood.